You know, the biggest question with the patch actually is, how are the APM recording changes going to affect their Razer headset lights? That's what everybody really wants to know. That's the big question. Forget the balance changes. Hey, look, it's
fiercest YugiOh.
That is actually a really good question.
YugiOh. It's green. Look at that. We'll never see a red headset again. And up at the top of the map, we have our Protoss player from Team Liquid. He is
Liquid Hero.
Oh, he's got some girl fans in the audience. Aw. Oh, he's made it to blue. Matches his shirt. It's not red anymore. And
yeah, it's funny to watch their APMs go down to like 19 for a second. And you know they're spamming really hard, but they're actually not accomplishing anything with it.
I don't know. I think APM is kind of funny. I mean, to a certain extent, you do need a certain amount of APM to be able to do the multitasking that you know, people do at a high level of play. But, you know, by the same token, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just APM, guys. And we've seen some players in Starcraft 2 survive and do quite well with what's considered fairly low APM.
Yeah. Well, again, you do need a certain level of APM to be able to get that multitasking. The APM isn't important itself, it's the multitasking that's important.
That's right. If you can be efficient with your actions, you don't need as many of them.
Very early pool, by the way, for YugiOh. I actually didn't catch what it was on. It may have been a 10 pool or something like that, or a 12 pool.
Well, he is nervous about this map. So.
The pool is complete, and Hero has actually spotted it very quickly, though. He scouted the correct position first, so he is going to be well prepared for these early Zerglings.
Pylon at the natural for YugiOh as well, so he'll need to use those Zerglings right away to take that out, to put down his expansion. Basically, YugiOh just wants to play really, really safe in this game, you know? He's worried about this map, wants to make sure that he's giving himself kind of the best chance to win. He's got to have something planned, though. I mean, some specific strategy.
Yep, and Nexus going down for Hero. Actually gets supply block when that pylon dies at the expansion.
Aww.
That's okay.
That's okay. He's not making a lot right now anyway. No big deal. Protecting his cannon with that gateway there. Good building position by Hero as well. Whenever you see, you know, people once in a while use their cannon as part of their wall, you're like, ugh, I don't know.
He's actually got to be careful. The Zerglings are coming in. Okay, actually, well, how many Zerglings are there? There are 6.
Yeah, he should be okay.
Not too big of a deal.
Yeah, even if he does run those in, there's enough probes to kind of.
Well, they are actually rallied to run by. If he doesn't block it with another gateway or core or something, he's going to get Zerglings in his main. And is he going to?
Oh, yep. He
no.
does run past. Loses one Zergling on the way, but he's going to be able to put a little bit of pressure on Hero. Pull some drones off of mining at least, and kind of do a little bit of scouting, sees that there's 2 gas. Not a lot else going on there. So, we'll see how many probe kills he manages to get from this.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. Those probes, if they do turn en masse on the Zerglings, they can gang up on them. Of course, he's only going to be able to harass until that cannon gets up.
Yep.
Trying to get some probe kills before the cannon does warp in.
Yeah, no, the trick for Hero is to pull just enough probes to survive this without losing too many to mining. But now that the cannon's finished, he should be fine. The Zealot's not even going to bother. He's like, you guys are fine.
Very well played by Hero. Now, he does have Zerglings in his base for a long time, which means he's going to be able to scout a lot.
Oh, nice micro by
look
YugiOh.
at that Zergling
Beautiful.
micro.
Oh, it's not even going to matter.
Maybe not. Never mind.
Probes have something to say about that. So there you go. Probes hard counter Zergling.
There you go.
Put it in the strategy guide.
Well, I think he was gonna take out that Zealot with no losses, but the probes as well as the Zealot actually microing against the Zerglings. Yeah. He actually attacked the low health one, so nicely done by both players.
Zerglings trying to get some revenge for their fallen brethren. And the real benefit of the Zerglings obviously is not killing probes, it's just that he can be in the base, he can scout a lot, he can try to get as much information out of Hero as he can, really. So
yep.
It's kind of nice. He's going to try to find that weakened one. Oh, getting a little bit surrounded there. Barely keeping those Zerglings alive. One of them at very, very low health.
Oh,
and that's the end of those.
Stopped paying attention to his Zerglings, and they died for it.
Yeah, well, Probe got in YugiOh's base as well, so he saw what there was to see, and what he saw was an extremely fast lair. In fact, it is finishing right now. That is a fast lair, man.
Yeah, he actually spent his first 100 gas on that. He's just started Zergling speed right now.
Oh, infestation bit as well. I mean, I know we're looking at the Protoss base right now, but this is exciting. So it's going to be 4 gates to defend for Hero, but a really, really quick infestation pit from YugiOh. So
this reminds me of what Monster did against MC on this map. Of course, Monster didn't micro it very well, and it failed pretty miserably, but it seems to be the same build, and this is something we've actually seen in Code A a lot, is this quick 2-base Infestor versus Protoss play. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's something some of the new some of the Zergs have been kind of playing around with. It's a newer build. We haven't seen it work terribly well quite yet.
No.
But we'll have to see how YugiOh decides to play it. We've seen a couple different ways. One way that's really interesting to me is the ability to use a bunch of infested Terrans on that wall. So I don't know if that's what he's planning, but that's one of the ways we've seen that used lately. He does see the Twilight Council as well. That's going to give him a little bit more information.
Well, and the reason why we saw this fail for Monster in that one game, although I did pull off one game as well, is there were Colossus out, and Hero is nowhere near Colossus. He's not doing Colossus tech at all. He's just going mass gates with the Twilight Council.
Yeah, the question is, will he decide to just get an upgrade, like a Blink timing possibly? Will he decide to get a Templar Archives or a Dark Shrine too? Because Archons would be pretty helpful against what YugiOh's planning. Oh, and it is going to be a Dark Shrine.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting choice, considering he saw such an early lair too, but you know, it can just be defensive in nature as well as gives you the ability to harass those later bases, and that's what we've been seeing Protoss players use it mostly for, is when it gets later in the game, you know, the 3rd, the 4th, you can send in a couple of Zealots into DT there and cause a lot of trouble. That
probe didn't get in, by the way, so didn't see the infestation pit or the infestors, so Hero's still
gonna get in there though.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. But Hero just now finding out, actually, unless he doesn't go in, okay, now he sees the infestor pop out.
Yep.
And we have the first cheaper Overseer made in the GSL, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, beautiful fungal on those Zealots. Another one, he's just going to fungal them to death.
Wow, and that will be pretty helpful. Hero's going to lose a lot here. Saving all his Zerglings as well. Goodbye, Zealots. And wow, it takes a lot of fungals to kill us.
Oh, man.
Man, and the Pylon, he's actually going after the Zealots with the Zerglings now. We used a lot of fungals on those Zealots. That may actually come back to haunt him. It certainly takes away his ability to do any sort of early pressure with those infestors.
Yeah, well, but I think it's probably a good thing. He killed Hero's entire army, and all he used was energy. Yeah. So now he can take his 3rd, which is what YugiOh's doing, and just chill. And there's no way Hero can take a 3rd right now because he just doesn't have the forces for it.
And there's a DT in the main as well. Of course, the Overseer does see it. DTs are going to be a little bit tough to send into your opponent's main and natural now, just because of those cheaper Overseers and the tendency of Zerg players to get that faster Evo chamber anyway. So, it's like I mentioned, it's really more for the mid and late game nowadays.
Hero is worried that YugiOh's just going to try and break him, so he's building more cannons at the front in response to seeing those roaches. There were a lot of roaches made there. Yeah. Hero's actually in some trouble here. He's 40 supply behind at the moment. And all those infestors have recharged their energy and now have enough for a fungal each again. So YugiOh's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, the nice thing with what Hero's doing is that he will, presumably have Colossi out, and Gateway plus Colossi plus harassing with DTs is going to be pretty good against what YugiOh has if he doesn't do any sort of tech switch. Obviously, the Roaches are going to make it a little bit tougher, but Colossi certainly handle infestors well, especially because of the neural change once he gets range for that.
Yeah.
Colossi will be able to hit the infestors way before they get in range to neural.
And I like this. YugiOh, to take a page out of Tastosis' book, he's getting more ahead. He's ahead and he's getting more ahead. He's being really defensive. Artosis would love to see that too. Getting the Spore down to make sure he's defended against DTs. Making sure that he doesn't lose the advantage to something silly.
Yeah. Both these guys are actually playing really well. And no 3rd again yet for Hero. Might just decide to try to power off 2 bases as well. Here comes a push from YugiOh. That's a good amount of roaches there. Good amount of cannons as well from Hero, though. And he is going to do the Infested Terran. No Colossi out yet.
First Colossus is just on its way.
Oh, that is a lot of DPS from those Infested Terrans and Roaches.
Beautiful. Unfortunately, he doesn't target down the sentries that are weakened. And loses all the roaches. Is he going to finally get? No.
Well, this
takes out a lot of stalkers.
This is really interesting. I mean, we've seen Zerg players try this a couple games now, and Infested Terrans, while they do a lot of DPS, are so fragile that I just don't think that really works.
Well, again, the key to that situation was that YugiOh lost energy, and Hero lost a lot of stalkers, so it was a good trade in that sense. If he can recharge the energy in time for the counterattack. Nope. Is he? Yeah, he is going to counterattack with one Colossus, so he won't really have the energy for it this time.
Now, a lot of lings were produced. He knows that those sentries are fairly low on energy, too, so he will be able to get, you know, a decent surround with that. I'm a little bit surprised at Hero pushing out the map with this. It's such a small army compared to what his opponent has.
Well, he kind of doesn't have a choice in a way. He has to put some kind of counter pressure on, otherwise YugiOh can just do whatever he wants. He kind of has this small window where YugiOh doesn't really have any energy on the infestors where he can push out and try and put some pressure on, but he is wisely turning back and heading kind of closer to his main.
Now there's a hive on the way as well for YugiOh off of 3 bases. He could bring in some Broodlords. He could also be planning on taking advantage of the fact that Ultralisks now take less than a minute to build. They take 55 seconds rather than, I believe it was 75. So that'll be an interesting thing if he decides to go for that. I mean, obviously Ultralisks stopped out Force Fields, no problem. He is producing Corruptors though, so... Oh yeah, there's the Greater Spire. So never mind, it will be Broodlords. That's much more standard. Yeah,
Hero has managed to take that third, now that he's got a couple Colossus out to defend. And so that's going to be good, but yeah, going for that Greater Spire attack has not very many Corruptors out, just enough for a few Broodlords. And hold on that thought, we may have an engagement here.
Yeah, that is a good amount of Colossi, but not a lot backing it up right now for Hero.
Yeah, YugiOh doesn't have a lot of forces on the ground, just Zerglings and a handful of Roaches, but he has 13, I'm sorry, no.
He's making 44 Zerglings too.
He's got 11 Infestors with almost full energy on each. And another number of Corruptors now as well. Here he comes in.
Here we go.
He can fungal everything.
Also using the Corruption spell to make those Stalkers even weaker. That's going to allow his Corruptors to kill the Colossi, no problem. And yeah, YugiOh just has too much stuff. A big Warpin coming in, but is it going to be enough to save Hero's push? I don't think so.
Nope, the Corruptor's polishing off the Colossi, but critically the Corruptors didn't engage too soon, so he actually killed all of the Infestors there. He wasn't being very careful with his Infestors, so he lost all of them, but there are now 8 Broodlords morphing.
Yeah, it's a lot of Broodlords. And a 4th base finally being taken by YugiOh as well. So YugiOh can push. You can see he's replacing a lot of his supply with Roaches as well. And after getting rid of all those sentries, after getting rid of the majority of the army of Hero, following that up with Broodlord Roach is going to be very strong.
Yeah, especially because I don't think Hero even has a Stargate. Yeah, no Stargate at all, so he's not going to have any air units to try and counter these Broodlords. He's going to have to do it with the Blink Stalkers, and he does not have very many Stalkers. He only has 9 Stalkers on the map right now.
YugiOh is doing a really good job of throwing different unit compositions at his opponent. Here come the Broodlords. Hero needing to fall back immediately, and I just don't think Hero has enough to deal with this.
No, he's actually 60 supply behind right now.
He's got to be careful not to let those Broodlords get too far out of position, though. That's the danger. And, yeah, make sure to keep the units underneath the Broodlords.
Yeah, now this is not YugiOh's entire force. I'm not sure why he doesn't have more of his Roaches along with this. He might be worried about counterattack, so he's leaving some at home.
We'll see. Broodlords sieging up that natural expansion. And Hero comes in. He's going to have to defend at some point. He's waiting until he has what he thinks he needs. There is a DT somewhere on the map, too. That could help wherever it is. And here we go. Infestors coming in, fungling everything. Roach is coming in as well. A couple Infested Terrans, but the big story here is the Broodlords doing so much damage. He has to handle those Stalkers, though, otherwise that's the end of those Broodlords.
Yeah, and he does finally bring in the rest of his Roaches that were back at the base.
Yep, that should be
and that is going to clinch the deal. And we are going to go to a 1-1 tie situation.
Yeah,
these guys are going to have to battle it out.
Yeah, the map that YugiOh was worried about actually went really, really well for him.
Yeah, YugiOh at full supply, Hero's supply dwindling down to 70. 9 supply. This game is over, ladies and gentlemen. Nicely played by YugiOh. The fast infestors, this time he didn't just kind of waste them on an early attack like we've seen other Zergs do.
Yeah. And
use them defensively. And
Broodlord's in a V for victory.
That's right. Wiped out the early attack by Hero, wiped out all those Zealots, and that gave YugiOh just complete control of the map and the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised YugiOh, or Hero rather, hasn't GG'd yet. I mean, he does have his third up and running and everything, but he's losing so much here. He's got some Stalkers, but I just don't think he has what it takes to deal with the Broodlords and the Roaches and all that.
Yeah, as soon as those last group of Stalkers die, he's going to finally leave. But
he's probably taking some time to kind of analyze what happened as well. He's kind of playing on autopilot right now while he kind of thinks about the game. A lot of players do like to do that. But the game, you know, it's pretty clearly over. Maybe there was a DG down there or something, who knows. GG.
There's the GG.
And we are 1-1 right now. YugiOh takes game 2, and I gotta say, that was some of the fastest teching I've seen by a Zerg player in a long time. That usually doesn't work too well, but worked okay for this guy.
I like it. I like it.
It's cool. Pretty fun. Taking a drink of his blue drink with his blue headset and his blue shirt. He's feeling kind of blue after that game as well.
Abadi Abadai.
Well, that's another song from way back, isn't it?
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
Good song though.
It was like what, Eiffel 65 or something did that song, wasn't it?
I think that's what it was called. Yeah. That was big back when I was in college, my freshman year.
It was, man. That was big. That was big even before that, actually, wasn't it? It was like the mid '90s.
Was it mid '90s? I thought it was like.
It's like well mid
90s.
to late, like.
Maybe. I remember it from freshman year of college, which for me was 1999.
Oh,
so
I don't know.
Anyway.
Time warp.
Indeed. Let's do that again.
I just like to say random things to just interrupt whatever you're thinking. While Trap's trying to talk about the game, I say time warp just to see how he reacts.
It's just to jump to the left. We're going to get into game number 3 here in just a minute. Sorry to distract from your distractions.
It's okay. Third map is going to be dual site.
On dual site. Yeah, it's going to be the battle of the light and dark sides of the map.
Yeah.
Curious to see who ends up on which side of the map. Not that it'll matter too much. But yeah, dual site is going to be the place where these guys are going to battle it out. It is going to a game number 3. This game will decide everything. Will YugiOh finally, after 6 seasons of Code A, get into the up and down matches for the first time?
We'll see.
Or will Hero do it on his first time ever in Code A?
Yeah, who's going to advance to the up and downs? Who's going to stay in Code A purgatory, as Wolf likes to call it, the limbo between worlds?
YugiOh is like, he's the prince of Code A purgatory, man.
I guess so. Well, he's like been knocked out of Code A a couple times too. He just keeps coming back, man. He's like those YugiOh cards that kids leave on the ground everywhere here. It's like they clean them up at night, you come back the next night, there's new YugiOh cards there. I could build like a really bad YugiOh deck from all the cards that I see on the ground. I just start picking those things up, man. Not like the worst YugiOh deck ever, but it's okay. Let's get into the game. Game 3, Hero versus YugiOh. Who's going to come out on top? This is the GSL.